Hey, so this is a squat session with yours truly. It'll be a mixture of voiceover with some live audio here. To start things off, I always love to try to warm up my core as much as I can. So this is an Olympic style warm up here that you're about to see, where I bend to each side, activating my obliques. The key here is to make sure that you're stabilized before you jump into your squat session. Otherwise, that can cause a lot of issues and problems for your joints as well as for your muscles. So making sure that your foundation is firmed and warmed up prior to a squat session is crucial. I usually do about 5 or 6 each side just to get a little juices flowing. And the next exercise I do prior to any kind of squat movement is these RDL or Romanian deadlifts here, movements here where I bend and hinge the hips. The key with a lot of squatting is hinging with your hips because it is a hip movement. You think about the hips first as you descend and then you go legs. So that's how I usually warm up. And then once I do that, I put on about 135 pounds and then I work my way up. So with every squat sesh, I work your way up to 1 rep. That's how I've been doing it for the past 10 years. Right now, 135, I'm gonna go with the 225 and the 315. I'm gonna start with the high bar stance. So I'm gonna have the right kind of on the trap line. And that's usually how I warm up. There's a couple ways to do a high bar, low bar. Once you get to the heavier stuff, low bar stance usually wins about 4 plates. But once you take a look at how I descend, per each reps, I'm gonna do about 8 start, and then I'm gonna try to work my way up. So kind of reiterating my point here, I always start out with high bar because that'll be more quad dominant. So as you can see, as I'm putting myself underneath the bar, I put the bar right on top of my traps. So it really pushes it forward and allows me to feel the activation of my quads. And I try to do as far down as I possibly can and as controlled as I possibly can. That way, it allows me to create that mind-muscle connection for the session, and I'm able to bang out the sets that I need to bang out. So as you can see, explosion at the bottom and then coming at the top explosively. That's the key. You need that power in order to get that eccentric motion. So same thing here. Do about 2 sets of about 8, 6-ish. I'm not trying to wear myself out. I got a lot of heavy weight to come, so. Again, 8 to 10 reps. It's getting a little bit heavier than 135. For me, I prefer doing 45-pound jumps on each side rather than doing incremental with the 25s, right? So I start with 135, then 225, and then 335. It allows me to get to the weight that I'm trying to get to and get comfortable once I get to that heavier weight. As you can see, the same principle, all the way down, controlled descent, stop at the bottom and explode at the bottom. That's the key, because you want to be able to build up that mind-muscle connection, that flow chart of doing that motion, because that's going to be very important once you get to the heavier weights. So 3, this is the part of the exercise that I don't like at all. It's a lot harder for me to do this high bar, because high bar is more quad dominant. As you can see, quads are not that big, so that's why I usually want low bar. So trains different areas. So if you want bigger quads, go for high bar. You just want to go for strength. You want to get bigger glutes, and hamstrings for the most part. Low bar. So I'm gonna bang out about 5 to 6 of these, and hopefully don't hurt. So this is where my form starts to struggle. Again, I'm not very quad dominant. I'm more glute dominant. So as you'll see, my form will definitely suffer as I go through this set. I advise that you make sure that you put clips on, as I forgot to put clips on each side. Once you get to the heavier weights, weights can slide off and then cause instability. Now, as you watch here, I'm controlled on the way bottom, but on the way back up, I tilt forward a little bit. So what that is a sign of my core weakness, right? So my abs are not totally strong enough to deal with that load or the way that I'm doing that I don't advise doing this, right? I recommend using a belt once you get to this point where your core can't help you because you don't want to risk the injury. However, I've been doing this for a long time, so I kind of understand my mind-muscle connection here. So that's a good solid 6 reps for 315.
So now we're at 4 plates. Usually I try to hit these low bar without any belt, but considering today my abs are weak, so once you get to a heavier weight, you want to make sure you be as precautious as you can, or take the precautions that you can, in order for you to not give yourself a major injury. So for me, it's a belt, and eventually I'll put on some knee sleeves once it gets to a heavier weight. This is heavy, but so with the belt, you want to make sure when you put it on, you're not cutting off all your circulation. If you do, it'll make it easier for you to pass out when you get upset. So try to keep it about like 75% tightness. Just give you enough air to get into your lungs. So you can do about maybe 4 to 5 of these, and then we'll see what happens.
So just to reiterate a point I made earlier, you don't want to overdo the tightness of your belt. I've done that a handful of times, and every single time it led to me getting a head rush and almost passing out, which in turn makes you drop the weight and cause a ruckus in the gym, and nobody wants that. So again, just enough to make sure that it feels like your core is stable. So here, with the low bar stance, you'll see I put my wrist kind of further out down the bar, and I have it touching my scapular muscles here. And what's great about this low bar stance, it allows me to put it in a straighter up and down plane with the motion here. So it allows me to have a heavier load. And as you can see, I keep my head up the whole set, because if I put my head down, it can force me to go towards my toes, and I don't want that to happen. So solid set right here. So here we are at our 1 rep for the day. Normally I try to go for about 2 to 3 reps on this amount of weight for 495, but today I was feeling a bit weak, so I figured this would be a good stopping point for the 1 rep. The key with this kind of weight, once you get to the 1 rep, the 100% of your max, is to mentally prepare yourself and understand that you've set up all the proper precautions. So the clips are in, the safety bars are at the right height, so you know that even if you fail, you're safe. Also, make sure you get into that mode, that beast mode that everyone wants to be in, so you can really explode at the bottom here. So with this, I always walk it out, take a deep breath, and then slowly descend. Now, again, the key, I want to keep my head up, making sure I see myself the whole rep, and my core is braced. So there you go.